another episode from the edition of Insights Malta Ghana. We're together with my co-host, Dr. Roberta Lepre, and also a colleague from Weave Consulting, and our resident guest, Mr. Christopher Buzutil Delbridge, who is the Managing Director of Evolve Limited in Malta, and our esteemed guests today, Mr. Edward Annan, the CEO and founder of Passionaire, as well as Mr. Daniel Galea, the VP of Operations of SR Technics, where we are going to discuss the subject and the industry of aviation. Welcome, Mr. Edward. Welcome, Mr. Daniel. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for asking us to join you.
So obviously, we all know and we've read and we continue reading the difficulties that the aviation industry is currently facing from the outset of the pandemic. Even though there is a great willingness for people to travel, to meet each other, to do business across countries and across borders, definitely there are challenges, and the challenges are related to the COVID-19 pandemic primarily. So perhaps starting off by introducing yourselves first, and then also sharing with the audience the challenges that you're currently facing within your respective industries or countries. Mr. Edward, would you like to start?
Yes, the name is Edward Annan, Accountable Manager for Passionaire. The difficulties, the protocols put in place to more or less prevent death during this period has brought, of course, hardship on the passengers that we have. For example, one of the routes we're doing 5 rotations a day, and now we're doing 3 rotations. But before this time, we were doing just 1. After the 3 weeks, 4 weeks lockdown, we're doing just 1 a day, and you could have as many passengers or as little passengers as 9, which isn't even enough to buy the fuel for the sector. But we had to do it to more or less give the public assurance that the airline industry will still be useful for their travels. Now, we've gone through the most part of the hardship. Now we are doing 5 rotations to this particular destination, which is Kumasi, the main revenue sector, but we are still not having the number of passengers that we should have. And it's pure because of the fear of the people not being sure of whether or not they could still get the disease if they go on the aircraft. But we've taken all the protocols. We spray each sector, the whole aircraft. We take care of the individuals, give them masks, give them sanitizers, all the protocols being adhered to. And gradually we see a little bit of increase. Few times you see a 4 flight, but most times around the 20 to 30 flights. Having said that, looking in the future, yes, giving them assurance to be able to go on the flight is one, but we have to look for new areas where we can fill the gap that we are losing in the passenger area. So we're looking at the cargo area. For example, we've signed an agreement with World Food Program to send cargo from Accra to 10 other destinations in Africa, mostly West Africa, which we started. We have the contract at the end of the year. The reason why they couldn't put us on a bigger scale is because they haven't done the audit that they need to do. They wanted to do the physical audit, but as things are going, I think they are shifting towards now doing visual audit. So when that is done, we can even bid for tenders that is not necessary within Africa. So we are looking at that area. We're also looking at charters to other African, West African countries that they are not able to reactivate their airline industry, like Cameroon. We're doing a 3 months wet lease charter for Cameroon Airlines. We are looking at the postal service in Ghana and carrying their goods from here to the destinations that we fly into. The government is opening another airport, which is somewhere in the center of Ghana, Sunyani, where the mining industry is. So we're hoping to start that also in October, mid-October. So we are trying to look at other areas other than traditional areas that we've been doing so far. Yesterday, we had a very good discussion with an airline in the Middle East who wants to come and join with us. Sorry, not Middle East. UAE want to join up with us to do the regional and international. So this pandemic, being as bad as it is, it's also giving us the opportunity to look at other areas for survival.
Of course, collaboration is key in this case, and indeed, for an aviation industry, for an airline to look for cargo opportunities, for instance, is definitely a good opportunity. Mr. Daniel Galea, a different operation, SR Techniques, mostly focused, if I'm not mistaken, on MROs.
That's right.
What is the effect of the pandemic? Because obviously, since there's limited traveling and limited flights, the amount of maintenance required and even repairs and operations obviously is definitely less. So how are you, or SR Techniques, or in general, you think that the pandemic is affecting the aviation industry?
First of all, thank you for the invitation as well. Yes, going into the challenges, I would say they have been tremendous. I mean, since the start of the COVID. In general, we estimated that around April, May, around 2/3 of the whole fleet, worldwide fleet, was grounded. So as you can imagine, that means most of their maintenance requirements would have been postponed or parked for the minute, you know. Then as well, you'll have the other challenge that other MROs, competitors as well, will be looking to take the remaining work, you know, that's available, meaning the fleet that is still practically flying. Some other challenges that we've encountered as well during the whole crisis, I should say, was the supply chain. Some of the suppliers were the ones providing parts and material and other related logistics matters were effectively working on reduced hours, were not sometimes available, and communication was a bit breezy. Other than that as well, since there have been a reduction of flights into Malta in general, as well, having the shipment reaching the island was also another challenge. So yes, we have to keep up in finishing the maintenance and doing the activity, but at the same time, the factor of having the material ordered ahead was one of the main, let's say, important factors at that point in time. I would agree with what was mentioned earlier on as well. Basically, communication was and is key. We had to speak to our customers to tell them that we are here basically for them as well, and discuss how we can work together, you know, amongst of which, whereas before summer used to be out of bounds because aircraft are more flying due to the tourism industry and so on. Basically, we've agreed with them, listen, let's carry on doing maintenance into the summer and remodel ourselves so that we ensure continuation and coverage. So that was one actually important thing. The other that is key as well in this whole thing is ensuring safety to our own employees as well. Some of them, of course, were worried. You know, the situation is worrying. I mean, I'm not going to shy away from that. But we've took up as well some measurements into place. Some that are, or rather can work from home, has been encouraged to actually do so. Others, we've fumigated and disinfected the aircraft before it is docked into the hangar. So there are those are some of the many other things we actually did.
A lot of disruption, and
it is fascinating to hear the two
angles as well, if you allow me, Roberta. From a founder and entrepreneur to an operational mindset. So someone is looking at different opportunities and networking and creating other things and diversifying at cargo, and Mr. Galea is explaining exactly, how he went about tackling the whole situation. So I think that if this teaches us anything, it is that different skill sets are required, and coming together as a team, it makes us much stronger, much more resilient than ever before. And this is true of any industry. Well done to both.
Oh, indeed, this is an interesting discussion, Chris, because I think there is the need of more of multidisciplinary teams, even though obviously, especially within the aviation industry, specialization and technical skill set is paramount and is of utmost importance when you come to engineering and specific skill set. But I think still then within the management side and that from a certain point onwards, having different people and having different skills coming together to try and find solutions, because obviously the resilience of the industry is being tested. Do you see that happening, Mr. Daniel, in your case?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, one of the measures as well we did was, let's say, to establish a committee from different sectors or different areas, let's say, of expertise. And we really deep dived into the problem and tried to ensure every corner is somewhat covered. Yeah, that was very much a key.
Mr. Edward, Annan, was it the case in the case of Passionaire?
Yes, we did the same. We had a team together, a committee that first and foremost to assure the safety of the staff first, and then of course the safety of the passengers. And each of them came with their 10 cents, and we put it all together, and it worked very beautifully. In fact, to date, we've not had, apart from one person, we've not had any case out of the whole 300 staff, not apart from one person, no case at all.
Excellent.
So that went very well, and there was a lot of cooperation with the staff.
So in the light of all this disruption and all these challenges, what would you say are the prospects now for the industry going forward? Because I don't know, in the sense that the measures that have been put into place, are they mitigation measures to address the current situation, or will they redefine the prospects of the industry for the future?
Well, the protocols are going to be kept as long as the state wants us to keep it. And I believe that it will go for a long time. So doing that. But as I said earlier on, we're looking at other areas, and we've actually been successful in getting some contracts in some of the areas we are looking at. So the prospect is there. Just that we don't want to neglect the original view of taking passengers from one point to the other point. I believe it will take quite some time before they are all relaxed and get the full load that we're getting before. But we have to assure them that they are safe in coming into the aircraft. And of course, as I said, we're also getting new areas to get the lost revenue from that line into the system. Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. And probably it's good. Now, we wouldn't have probably looked at cargo if everything was going well. We're looking at consolidating the domestic flights and then start with the regional. Now, instead of going to regional, we are doing the cargo, which is looking pretty good, and hopefully we can continue with that. And the other part of it is also getting together with a far bigger airline to join up with us to look at future. So it's not too bad.
Once again, this theme of collaboration has been an emerging theme in our various episodes of Insights, and it looks like going forward is going to be key in ensuring survival and success of businesses going forward. I see Chris nodding in agreement.
Yes, definitely. I'm very passionate about collaboration, intercompany, interculture. I love what is being done by Passionaire as well, looking into cargo, looking at the opportunity rather than what is happening. But I think we must agree that most of what is happening is actually driven by emotion, because if people weren't so fearful, then they would travel, for business and for leisure. And obviously the aviation industry wouldn't be in this position. So one thing that I would like to share as a business traveler is that I traveled only a few weeks ago out of necessity, and it was a 24-hour travel, you know, it was quite far away. And I think airports and the airline, the airplanes was the safest place I ever felt. And I have to say that because it was surprising, but when you think of it, it's not. Airports and airlines are places where people are highly trained, they're highly regulated, and the safety of the passengers is paramount. Nowhere else will you go where you're treated and your safety is as important to the staff as that place. So I have absolutely no reservations to travel again whenever I need using an airline. And I say this to maybe encourage some people who are sitting on the fence. Now, everyone reacts differently, I understand, and all destinations are different. But my personal experience, traveled with 2 different airlines, I was always very well taken care of. And I think people are taking it, airports are taking all the necessary measures. So I felt extremely safe. And I don't know, let's look at history. 6 months. Did you hear of anything? Maybe I missed something, that a full plane load of people or someone got infected from a plane. It hasn't made the news in my world yet, but maybe it has. I haven't heard of it yet. From parties, yes. From other places, yes. But not from a plane, as far as I can remember. So maybe the fears.
It's the adaptation as well, Chris. Yes.
Yes.
It
is maybe high time to start looking at things more pragmatically rather than only emotionally.
I think also picking up on what has been mentioned earlier, the issue of ensuring the safety also of the staff. I think that is also key in transmitting a sense of reassurance ultimately to the client, because there's that sense of safeguarding that is transmitted, whether intentionally or otherwise.
Yes, you're right. I mean, the staff is the backbone of the whole operation. Without them, there's nothing to do. So we need to take their safety first, and of course, put protocols in place that they will follow and stay safe.
I agree.
And that also gives assurance to the passengers when they get to know how safe the staff are, and then from there on, passing it on to the passengers, they feel far better than otherwise.
Do you see any other success stories, perhaps from other industry players within your field that have taken advantage of the situation and seen an opportunity out of challenge? Is there something which you would like to share with us, if there's any? Because definitely we speak about collaborations, and indeed, collaborations will be required. We need to find the strengths between parties, and we collaborate with our staff, we collaborate with our customers, with our suppliers, and with potential other investors as well. But there is definitely a challenge to that. How do we choose the best collaborators? So what are your views on this?
What I see more is people who are good with IT. You know, I'm not in that direction at all, but people who are good in that area, they are making a big wave, and possibly, it might even reduce us business people traveling in the future. Because if you can have meetings, successful meetings on a system like Zoom or whatever that you call them, why would you want to travel? I was traveling almost every other week. Now, so there is opportunity for people. Anything that happens in this world, there's opportunity that you can take out of it. You know, and a lot of people are taking opportunity in that area to develop IT systems that one can be at different places and get together at the same time and, you know, have fun, and also business. So I'm not too sure whether we'll go back to the number of passengers we knew before, you know, early this year. I'm not too sure. I think the traditional people, the conservative people, might want to go back if the time is right. But the youth are more looking at doing business and having fun on the laptop instead of traveling. So the business opportunities come, but I'm not too sure whether it can bring us physically together as human beings in the world. You know, that is yet to be determined in the future.
Most people are very skeptical, Chris.
Really.
And Mr. Edward, indeed, regarding of going back together and meeting physically in the same space.
I simply cannot wait.
Pardon? Pardon, Chris, sorry.
And I said, and I simply cannot wait.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. Mr. Daniel Galea.
Yeah, what I'd like to mention earlier on, the question was about the market expectation. Basically, we have to assume, or rather, you know, look how the future will look like, and based on the current analysis, to get back to the 2019, let's say pre-2019 loads, we are looking at best case scenario 2023, and the base case scenario will be 2025. Now, everything can change again, depending on whether vaccines will be produced earlier. But I don't think people are gonna rush into booking holidays as they were before, until everything is pretty much settled. You know, if aviation is part of the tourism, let's say, functionality or sector, so the hit on us is immediate, and the rest of the economy will follow eventually. You know, hopefully it will not become, or rather, it will not turn out to be that bad at the end of the day. But in the commercial world, we are not assuming the 2019 loads up before 2023. Now, opportunities as such, there are various. For example, again, key is communication, discussing with the customer how we can, the operator, like from what we're hearing from Edward, basically is discussing with them how can we help them. You know, most of the meetings are now being done online. Certain quality audits are being done online as well. And I think it unleashed also, it's like also a paradigm shift, I would call it, that now certain level of inspections and even quality inspections are being done online. Let's say audits, for example. I mean, the aircraft, obviously, physically, it has, there's no way, it's so much highly regulated. And as mentioned earlier on, its training is vast. And there is no way we can get away from that. So the traditional, let's say, maintenance hands-on has to stay. Some other opportunities that I've, let's say, personally nothing to do with the market I am currently in. I noticed as well that the business industry, like the business jets, picked up quite some volume as well. Possibly they learned as well to adapt their business model and created pools of, let's say, transportations for certain entities and companies, for example, rather than traditionally going on to and buy the ticket yourself, as we all know how that's being done. They chartered the full aircraft, for example, to meet their business plan. So possibly, yes, there are opportunities, but it's very much difficult to move away from the traditional concept, let's put it this way.
Of course, I appreciate and I empathize, Mr. Galea. It's definitely not an easy task by all means, but definitely when you are faced with an unprecedented event such as the COVID-19 pandemic, where there are no trends, basically, we are still recording those trends and how it's going to evolve. So it's not something which we can really predict. Mm-hmm. Definitely, obviously, there are different schools of thought as well. That some people are really leaving behind 2019 numbers and just looking forward and basically predicting or forecasting new numbers now. New numbers with new business models, because as you mentioned, since there has been a paradigm shift, basically the business model is changing completely, then even the numbers and the financial analysis and the plans would need to be substantiated with different assumptions and different scenarios. So thank you for sharing that with us. Sorry, Roberta, you were saying?
I was going to say now that this is interesting, even from a sustainability point of view, because there would have been those who would argue that the 2019 numbers were not sustainable in the first place. So perhaps this was the push we needed to, put our thinking caps on and reassess the whole scenario. I understand change is difficult and painful, but I really would like to applaud as well our two guests for having been able to come up with solutions, even in, within the context of these enormous pressures.
Indeed. And what we've seen as well, both from the Pleschner side as well as SR Techniques, even though there are different operations, there are similarities as well, both in terms of the difficulties, but also in terms of opportunities that they're looking into from Malta as well as from Ghana. So thank you for sharing these interesting insights with us. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Mr. Edward Annan and Mr. Galea. Thank you, Chris, for supporting us in this venture. I think this has been something which has been successful to date. Again, we have collaborated together with Roberta and yourself because we have the same opportunity. We would like to internationalize. We would like to look at other markets, at new markets, and explore Ghana as an opportunity whilst we're sitting here. You're already doing it, Chris. So
exactly.
That we're learning from you, basically. We're learning from.
How come Chris hasn't come to see us if he's doing something like that? Chris?
Yes, for sure.
He's been there.
I'm sure. I've been 8 times and more.
Yes, but you never came to see me, which means you've got
in a different industry.
So next time.
I will. I promise. Very soon.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you.
Very good afternoon. Thanks a lot.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
There are challenges that also precede COVID.
Businesses that do not adapt to changing situations, they fall down.
Ghana always offers opportunity to the outside world.